Welcome to another Magic the Gathering Arena video. The best of three list that I'll be playing here is a Sultai Midrange deck or mid-ramp deck. It has two names and is really the work of Andrea Mengucci. Over the course of the last set, Theros Beyond Death, he has really been tinkering on his Sultai list, which was, since rotation happened, not necessarily an archetype that was competitive anymore. Really, with some of the cards that lost in Ixalan, like Cast Down, the Explorer package, and some other cards that really made the deck, Sultai just lost too much to really remain competitive. Andrea Mengucci, when Theros Beyond Death came out, saw some opportunity to make a Sultai mid-ramp deck. Some cards that he really focused around were Atris and Uro, and he just kind of kept tinkering on this deck. It started out with a deck he called Sultai Cards I Own. And he just kind of kept working on it and evolving it and going and adding more lands, adding more Casualties of War, basically getting greedier with the deck over the course of time. And it ended up working pretty good. Multiple tournaments, Sultai Midrange or Mid-Ramp actually ended up winning. And this deck really does pretty good. Is it tier 1? I don't know. I really don't know at the moment. A lot of stronger decks are out right now from a control standpoint. You got older Yorion decks going around. However, Sultai really still does compete. To me, it's the underdog that can put up a fight in any situation. Obviously, the biggest weakness here is going to be aggro. I'm going to run through the list, and it'll kind of make sense what I'm talking about. Why it still competes and why not necessarily tier 1. So, Sultai Midrange, one of the awesome additions that this last set has brought out. Ikoria gave us Heartless Act, and I could not be more excited about a 2-mana uncommon. It is an instant cast, 1 in a black, and you destroy target creature with no counters on it, or you remove up to 3 counters from target creature. This is the cast down of this set. It can take care of almost every creature, and if it has counters, you can just take 3 off, which is huge as well. There's a lot of counters going around with Ikoria especially. However, it's still really nice to remove some of those counters, and there's just a lot of targets without counters. One cool note is being able to remove 3 counters, you destroy a Nissa land. So, awesome card. I love to run 2. I don't necessarily tend to run more because it does get awkward if you have a lot of creatures with counters on them and run into some decks that don't run very many creatures. Thought Erasure, just a staple 2-mana card that allows me to kind of hate on their hand a little bit, which is great with the amount of control matchups that are out right now. Growth Spiral, typical ramp card. Going into Uro, which again is an amazing ramp card. It goes into bin, but for 3 mana, I basically get a power growth spiral, which is I get a card draw, an extra land on the field, and 3 life. Then I can bring it back for 4 mana to have a 6/6, just absolute animal on the board. And if this stays on the board, the game pretty much takes its own course. Hydroid Krasis, again, an amazing card. This is a card that I never really knew how to use properly. I was always too greedy with it. And watching Andrea Mengucci a lot, he uses this as a filler a lot. He uses this to kind of go around counters so that he can get some card draw and some life gain. And it's just really an awesome tool. It can be that big greedy beast that can stomp down your opponent, but this is really more of a tool to situationally just draw some cards, potentially get a body on the board and gain some life. Atris, Oracle of Half-Truths. This card is absolutely amazing. Andrea Mengucci is a huge fan of this card, and I can see why. This card it's a 3/2 with Menace, which is, it's good. It's not fantastic, especially in Ikoria. There's a lot of stuff going around with Menace, so it's not that fantastic from that standpoint. Where this is amazing is when it enters the battlefield, target opponent looks at the top 3 cards of your library and separates them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. This is awesome for multiple reasons. This is one of those where I play it, I need lands. My opponent thinks like, hey, I've got this super, like maybe there's a Cavalier in one of those 3 and the other 2 are lands. They're going to want to hide the Cavalier and I get 2 lands. That's exactly what I need. I'll always be able to kind of determine like, okay, what do I need? What don't I need? What am I looking for? And that's the stack that I'm going to pick. Very, very, very good card. Now also the cool thing on this is it also puts cards in the graveyard for Uro. Extinction Event, another really cool card from Ikoria. Started out with 1 copy, then went to 2, and now I have 3 in here. I don't know if that's overkill or not, but I just never feel bad having this card in my deck or in my hand. it's one of those where choosing odd or even, I often get to at least remove the biggest threat, if not multiple threats. This card is just an absolute powerhouse. Only thing to really point out, it works on creatures only. That's the only thing that can kind of be a downside. So when I go up against control, I tend to sideboard some of these out. Cavalier of Thorns, just again, awesome for ramp. It's a reacher for 5/6. It stops the Dream Trawlers. It stops any kind of flyer for that matter. It's just an amazing card, and it basically fills up your graveyard. If you can follow up Cavalier of Thorns after Uro, you basically can recast your Uro the turn after. Nissa shakes the roll. Don't really have to say much about this card. This Planeswalker is absolutely insane. Doubling up our forests and being able to just put a 3/3 on the board every turn is absolutely fantastic for ramp and for pressure. Casualties of War. This is probably the greediest card in the deck, and this is probably my favorite card at the moment. This card is absolutely amazing. When it came out in War of the Spark, I could not wait to build a deck around this. Casualties of War for 6 mana, I get to choose one or more. Destroy artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. Which, sometimes situationally, that ends up just being a creature and a land, which for 6 mana seems like a lot. Now, I will be ramping a lot. I will have a lot of land on the field. What better way to use it than just to destroy some stuff? Now, a lot of decks right now run multiple of these things, and that's where this value really comes in. So this is also one of those that started off with 2 copies, 3 copies, and now 4 full copies in the main deck, especially against the Fires decks, against the Temur Reclamation decks, against the Yorion decks that all play Elspeths and Planeswalkers and all that good stuff. This card is insane. So, obviously, the weaknesses here is early interaction doesn't really exist except for 2 copies of this. And other than that, if I put I'll really need 4 mana for this to be a body. I really need, this dies really easily with only 2 toughness. So it really takes a little while for me to have interaction on the board. So aggro tends to get under us in the first match. And that's when I'll reduce my curve. So aggro is our worst matchup. Control, we can really try to grind them out with some of our hate here. So I'll go into the sideboard on what our options are against some of the decks. Again, if I go against more control, I want to board in some negates and some mystical disputes. Those are really that's my counter package. Narset is really to stop some card draw. So some decks really build on card draw, and that's where Narset really comes into play. So again, this could be really good against Jeskai Fires with their Kahuga. They want to draw cards when they play it. They won't get it with Narset. There are some Phoenix decks out there. They kind of came back. They are completely stopped by this. There's just several decks out there that really need their card draw. Also against cycling decks, this is fantastic. Cry of the Carnarium, full 4. Again, that's just because we're so weak against aggro in our main board. We want to be able to put all these in here. This is great against any kind of Lurus deck. Ritual of Soot, again, one of those where if I go up against an aggressive deck, I'll be able to destroy anything that's 3 mana or less. Again, against Lurus, this is a powerhouse. Massacre Girl, same reason, just great against any creature deck that runs some small stuff. And 2 Thought Distortion. So I don't know if 1 or 2 is the right number here, but again, this is one of those cards that if I play against control, I never feel bad having this in my hand. So I think at this point, best thing to do is to just jump into a game and see how it goes. It'll be my first best of 3 ranked since Ikoria came out with the Sultai deck. And we are going against Himamudayo. Interesting name. Really cool with the avatar there. Okay, let's see. I'm on the draw. Oh, I thought I changed my pet. I'll have to do that after this. Not the biggest fan of only having 2 lands and no black. However, I do have Growth Spiral, so I'm just going to attempt it. He has Yorion, so he might have a pretty greedy deck here, so I might be able to get away with a slower start. Other than that, I have my ramp here. So as long as they don't have too good of a start here, I might be okay in this game. So this tells me that they're probably Yorion Esper. So here I would really love to draw some black soon. Being able to hand hate against Esper is going to be pretty huge. They might have some hand hate here themselves. Now the downside of running 80 cards is that the chances of you getting what you need right away are obviously less. But for some reason, the Yorion decks are incredibly successful regardless. I'd say this is a really interesting card. This is one of those cards that I thought, like, hey, this is just going to be jank. who's going to want to build an 80-card deck? And then suddenly everybody's running 80-card decks that are just incredibly effective. The fairy, okay. So now I want to pop out this. Green is not what I want, but I'll take it. Okay. Blue, again, not what I want. It's really unfortunate here. Now I really need to draw either a black land or a land regardless, otherwise I am going to fall too far behind. Okay. Actually, it doesn't impact me very much right now, so that's good. At least they're emptying their hand pretty good right now, so that's positive. Okay. That's a land. I might actually just play Nissa here. You have a negate? No? Sweet. I don't have a reason to lose a breeding pool. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the forest. Now he might have some removal here against my forest. That would be really unfortunate. I'm really bummed that my pet didn't change. I got a new pet and it thought I switched it out, but all right. Let's go ahead and smack the fairy. The next turn I'll be able to Casualties of War, which is kind of nice. Which actually makes me think that, well, no, I don't have black. That's really frustrating. I really need to start drawing some black lands here. At least I'll be able to Cavalier, so that's kind of nice. Wonder if he's going to Yuri on here. No, he's not. Okay. If he's going to Yuri on, I'm actually not too sad about it because I'll be able to Cavalier of Thorns. Cavalier of Thorns blocks his Yurion. Oath of Kaya against a land. Yep, kind of figured. It's actually okay. I'm not too worried about that. I just need black lands at this point. Because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands in play with Nissa. So unless they have an Elder Spell, which I don't think anybody really runs right now. There's black. Hey, there we go. So I can do this and still have the Thought Erasure open. So I actually think I want to Thought Erasure first. Shark Typhoons. Okay. Land, absolutely. I want land, without a doubt. So go ahead and Cavalier. There we go. Get my Triome out there. He is thinking if he wants to cycle or not. Oh no, I needed to resolve. Wow. Sorry, buddy. Now he's thinking if he wants to cycle or not. Is he going to cycle? I'd be totally okay with that. Okay, so I got Triomes and a Fabled Passage. Do I need an untapped land for whatever reason? I could take his Shark. Do I want that though? Well, I can do that with this too. No, I cannot. Swamp Forest Island. Fabled Passage. Do I want to remove that? I don't think I'm too worried about it right now. Let's not worry about it. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. Get this guy out. Probably guess I could have done the island as well, but that's okay. Not the biggest deal. There's no point in attacking right now. So we're just going to go in and pass the turn. He's going to cycle now. He's thinking about it. Okay, he is. Sweet. Means he feels under pressure, so that's good. Now I wonder if he's going to Yuri on this time. So he can Oath of Kaya to Fairy and potentially get rid of Cavalier of Thorns. Which again, I now have enough mana for Casualties of War. Okay, he can actually not... Okay, he's going to draw a card for Dream Trawler. Again, that's fine. So, do I want to Casualties of War? I think I do. And I can tap this. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so we can destroy a Planeswalker, a land, an enchantment, a creature, and an artifact. Oh my gosh, the value. Oh, here we go. Dream Trawler, there, land. Is there a specific land I want gone? He has 2 blacks, a couple blues. I don't think it really matters, so I'm going to go ahead and take Avantras. Target a Planeswalker, obviously. Oh my gosh. I love playing Casualties of War for everything. He's going to discard a card, which is great too. I really don't mind that. Totally fine. That is a sweet, sweet reset. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so like I said, this is really where mid-range Sultai shines. So what can I lose here? I'm gonna cut all these. I'm gonna cut these. Put in the negates. Put in the mystical disputes, and put in Thought Distortion. I think this is it. I don't want to get rid of the Krasis here. I was thinking about Krasis or Uro because I really like to have the 2 Thought Distortion. Well, is 2 too much? Yeah, 2 is too much. I want my ramp. Let's go with this. Okay, so he plays Esper Control. So I don't really expect any aggro in response here, so that's why I was comfortable kind of removing all my removal. I know he has creatures, he has Dream Trawler, he has Yorion, but those are all creatures that come out late in the game, and I am hoping to have my Casualties of War available by then. Again, Sultai is really one of those decks. It capitalizes on other greedier decks. It has the answers to those decks. So actually right now is a good time to play Sultai midrange. I really think it has answers to a lot of these decks. Now the only downside with like a Jeskai Fires deck, yes, I have removal for that. However, Jeskai Fires tends to be able to sideboard very aggressively. And if I think that too hard, yeah, I like his hand. If I think that he's going to go aggressive and I sideboard for aggressive and he doesn't, then I'm going to be in trouble because of that. Now, if he or she, they would sideboard aggressively and I'm not prepared for it, I just get killed. So typically if I play Jeskai Fires, that's what I do against Sultai. I pull out my Legion of War bosses, I pull out some Tajiks, and that typically takes the game away from them. So here I am going to Thought Erasure. I might get Mystical Disputed here, but that's okay. That's not a card I wouldn't mind taking from them anyway. Okay, sweet. So we got Veto, Teferi, Agonizing Remorse. What do I want to get rid of here most? I don't think I really care about the Veto. It's probably going to drop Teferi on the next turn. That's going to happen no matter what. So do I want to get rid of Hydroid? Yeah, I don't really want anything to get exiled right now. I do like Atris because it can do multiple things for me here. It can apply some pressure. Kind of bummed that I don't have Mystical Dispute open, but that's okay. Honestly, I would have only been able to counter one of them anyway, and the next turn it will come down regardless. There's Teferi. The next turn I'll Uro. Okay, he's looking for cards. So I am going to pull out the Swamp, play my Uro. There's Casualties. Okay, sweet. And there you go. At this point, there's no point in chalking this in. This Mystical Dispute is a dead card in my hand right now, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. The next turn, I am going to Nissa. Now, he's going to have to tap out first, because I don't necessarily want to... Well, do I care? Okay. I would love for him to tap out, so I know he can veto whatever I'm going to play. Okay. So he has veto open. So I'm actually going to go ahead and Atris. In reality, I shouldn't have played that land, because if I would have pulled a Triome, I would have been able to play that, which would have been better. Do I want lands? What do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think I'd mind lands right now, honestly. It'd also be nice to have 2 cards in the bin. Yeah. If this is a land, I'm going to feel bad. What is the card that could be here? Do I need lands right now? I don't think I do. Okay, I'm not upset by that at all. Filling up the bin a little bit more, having another Atris to recast, that's actually kind of sweet. Now the nice thing here, because it has menace, this can block it, so he's going to actually have to remove it. Otherwise, this turn I'll be able to kill his Teferi. Unless he resets it with Yorion, of course. Or Yorion. If anybody knows how to pronounce that card, please let me know. I'd say this is actually a fun match, which I never knew I'd say that playing against Esper Control. I actually really enjoyed that some of these control decks are back. I would love to see aggro be really viable again, so you have a really healthy meta. But that's okay. Okay, so I think first order of business here is attacking Teferi. See what he does. What you got? Nothing? Maybe? Looking at his mana. Okay, he's keeping counters open. Heartless Act. Okay, cool. And now, still has Veto open. I think I might actually just play into that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Enter stats. Let's go ahead and Nissa here. Do I want a Nissa? I'm going to go ahead and Atris again. I was thinking if I could Nissa, he would counter that, and then next turn I can Casualties. However, with him having another Teferi, Casualties of War is not as impactful just yet, so I'm just going to wait on that. Now, the only thing that would kind of stink is if he would Elspeth it next turn. I don't care about Uro. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that's actually pretty sweet. I don't mind lands. I was really thinking of getting them earlier. It never feels bad to have lands in this deck. So that's one thing that I didn't cover earlier is the land package. A lot of people running this deck now actually run 30 lands. To me, I flood out way too much if I run 30. Again, that's one of those where the Triomes you can cycle, but I never get lucky enough to where I pull those at a point where it would be good to cycle them. So he's tapped out right now, which is fantastic. That is what we wanted. So now we're going to actually do a pretty impactful play here. We're going to go ahead and destroy Planeswalker, land, enchantment, creature, artifact, land. Doesn't matter. Hallowed Fountain. I think I'm going to take a black source here. Well, you got 3 black sources, 3 blue, 3 white. It's pretty balanced. I don't think it really matters. In that case, I'm just going to go with a white. Reduce his chances of Conquer's Death. And I might as well. Do I have? Yeah, I have more islands in my deck, so I'm going to go ahead and Fabled Passage for an island. There we go. That's it. So my opponent. This is really what Sultai does. It disrupts my opponent early on, and really takes their entire control game plan away. These control decks, especially the Orion control decks, they want to establish a field with planeswalkers, enchantments, and potentially some value creatures, so that they can reset their board with Orion and get double value out of it. The cool thing about Orion is that it puts your planeswalkers back at the starting loyalty. It puts the enchantments back, like your Elspeth coming back, you can exile another thing. So being able to Casualties of War their entire board, that just completely resets them. If I still have a hand of answers, and here I was going to have an island with a counter. Now, granted, I know they had a veto, but they would have played Teferi, I would have played my Dispute, and they either would have to pay or veto. Either way, they would have gotten to a point where next turn I could do whatever I want because they wouldn't have the counter open. So this was really already kind of a checkmate situation. I really think that Sultai. Oh, we got more things. What do we got? A unicorn. Who doesn't get excited about that? Anyway, I really think that Sultai Midrange is a great deck if you want to counter some of the meta right now. Again, after Sideboard, you're actually really strong against Lurrus. I did play some best of threes. I know earlier I said I hadn't played rank yet, but I did once. Right after Ikoria came out, I was testing some cards, and I did the best of 3 against the Lurrus deck when Lurrus Rakdos was really going around as a completely broken deck. And I actually completely shut it down with the Carnariums and the Extinction Event. So you really have an answer to those decks as well. I think this deck is actually really powerful. And it won't be until your fast, hard-hitting aggro comes back that this is going to be harder to play again. So like last set, you were struggling with mono red pretty badly with this deck. Gruul would smash you in this deck. But right now, actually, against these Urion decks, you've got a really good shot with Sultai. So, all right. Thank you for watching. Again, I would really love if you would like, subscribe. It really helps out a lot. Also, leave a comment. As I said before, I love building decks. Again, right now I'm playing a lot of the decks that are being played by some of the top players. But I do love some deck building. So if you have a suggestion of like, hey, I would love for you to try this archetype, or hey, can you build a deck around this idea? Feel free to leave me a comment, and I'll do the best I can and record a video with it. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.